They weren't just hot, they were disruptively hot. The kind of queer men who didn't just serve looks, they served questions, tension, and full-blown identity crises. In this episode of Rainbow Spotlight, we're counting down 5 queer icons who broke the internet not just with beauty, but with audacity. They blurred lines, crossed norms, and didn't ask for permission. And in return, the world couldn't decide whether to thirst or panic. They danced in lace, posted without labels, walked red carpets like battlefields, and every move made fans scream and critics squirm. This list isn't about safe. It's about shameless, about beauty that's bold, gender that's bent, and confidence that doesn't ask to be liked. Where are you watching from? Drop your country below and get ready. Some of these looks still live rent-free in our minds. Troye Sivan, the angel-faced queer icon who made horniness political. Troye Sivan didn't just make music. He made you question your type. The moment he stepped into the pop scene with his soft voice and softer frame, fans couldn't decide if they wanted to hug him or ruin their lives over him. And honestly, Troye made sure you'd want to do both. He was never the kind of pop star to shout. He whispered, moaned, swayed, and invited you in with eyes that looked like they'd been crying for hours, but in a beautiful, cinematic way. He was delicate, ethereal, the opposite of everything the industry once told queer men they had to be to succeed. And somehow, that made him dangerous. Troye became a full-blown fantasy for queer people who were tired of seeing masculinity as the only marker of desirability. He wore mesh shirts, danced like a lover, not a performer, and delivered lyrics about sex, heartbreak, and longing that felt too intimate. His energy wasn't aggressive. It was addictive, vulnerable, almost voyeuristic. And that made people thirst, hard. But what made things uncomfortable, especially for the mainstream, was how unapologetically queer it all was. He wasn't just hinting at attraction, he was singing about men, touching them in music videos, showing real chemistry, real craving, and real queer joy. He wasn't coded, he was clear, and that clarity was radical. Then came Rush, a song about wanting bodies, sweat, connection, and a video that looked like a gay warehouse party exploded into your screen. Skin everywhere, Speedos, grinding, Troye, with his limbs loose and his shirt missing, dancing like desire itself. It was hot, but for some people, it was too hot. The backlash came in waves. This is too explicit. It's too much. Why is this so in your face? Which, of course, is ironic, because straight pop stars have been doing far more for far longer. But Troye wasn't performing for the male gaze. He was flipping it, owning it, centering queer pleasure with no apology, and that made people uncomfortable. And that's exactly why he belongs here. Troye Sivan didn't just make the internet thirsty, he made it reckon with its double standards. He reminded us that softness can be powerful, that twinks can lead revolutions, and that sometimes the most subversive thing a queer man can do is dance like nobody's watching, and mean it. He didn't demand your approval. He made you want him and wonder why you felt weird about it. Drop a 1 if Troye ever made you blush, bite your lip, or feel way too many things in 3 minutes and 24 seconds. We've been there. Bretman Rock, the internet baddie who made masculinity sweat. Bretman Rock doesn't flirt. He devours. With a single hair flip, a perfectly timed eye roll, or a mirror selfie in barely there silk shorts, Bretman doesn't just own the room, he rebuilds it in his image. Loud, proud, and glittered in tropical sunlight. He started out as the funny beauty guru with a Filipino accent and a bigger-than-life laugh. But somewhere between blending highlighter and blending toxic masculinity into dust, Bretman became one of the internet's most untouchable queer icons. Not just hot, not just fierce, but unbothered, and that's what made people spiral. His thirst traps are legendary. Not because they're perfectly posed, though they often are, but because they're shameless. Bretman doesn't ask, "Is this too much?" He posts it, then dares you to deal with it. The body is giving. The captions are cocky. The vibe is full fantasy. But here's what makes it deeper. He's not performing masculinity to make it palatable. He's performing himself. And if that makes you uncomfortable, that's your problem. And a lot of people were uncomfortable. Despite his millions of followers, Bretman constantly gets hit with the same old lines. Too much. Too girly. Tone it down. Because the truth is, Bretman lives at an intersection that the internet still doesn't know how to handle. He's unapologetically gay, proudly Asian, flamboyant, muscular, and deeply spiritual. He talks about crystals and sex in the same breath. He quotes Beyoncé and ancient energy work. You can't box him in, so people try to cancel what they can't categorize. And yet, he thrives. Every time someone says he's too extra, he adds more glitter. When they say you're doing too much, he does it louder. But he's not performing for the haters. He's performing for the girls, the gays, and the theys who grew up feeling like too much, and now realize that was their superpower. What really makes Bretman Rock a thirsty and uncomfortable internet presence isn't just the photos. It's the fact that he makes confidence look easy. He exists in a body that's both admired and mocked. He speaks like no one's watching, even when millions are. He is, in every sense of the word, free. And nothing makes insecure people sweat more than a free, powerful, hot, queer man who knows it. And yet, behind the sass and the thirst traps, there's also a softness, a love for his family, a connection to nature, a wisdom that sneaks up on you between the jokes. Bretman isn't just a mood, he's a movement. He didn't ask to be everyone's favorite too much. But now that he is, he's making it look like the best thing you could ever be. Drop a 2 if Bretman ever made you laugh, blush, and feel like maybe being extra is exactly what the world needs. Back. Lil Nas X, the pop provocateur who made gay look dangerous again. Lil Nas X didn't slip into the pop world. He kicked the door down in thigh-high boots and pole danced straight to hell. From the moment he broke records with Old Town Road, the industry tried to box him into something safe, digestible, and marketable. So naturally, he did the opposite. When he came out at the peak of his chart-topping fame, it wasn't with a whisper, it was with fireworks. But even that announcement couldn't prepare the world for what came next. Because Lil Nas X didn't just say he was gay, he made you feel it. Every lyric, every video, every unapologetically horny tweet. He didn't just exist as a queer man, he reveled in it. And that, for many people, was too much to handle. Let's talk Montero, Call Me By Your Name. A song that sounded like seduction in stereo, paired with a video that made the internet collectively short-circuit. Pole dancing in leather? Check. Grinding on Satan? Check. Kissing himself as an angel? Double check. It was sexy. It was stunning. And it was queer joy turned biblical rebellion. People were thirsty and also furious. That's what makes Lil Nas X so powerful. He knows exactly how to push buttons, and he does it while smirking. The abs, shining, the outfits, see-through, the performances, controlled chaos. But underneath it all is a genius-level understanding of culture. He doesn't just perform for gay audiences, he plays with mainstream discomfort like it's a backup dancer. And let's be real. Part of the uncomfortable wasn't just the sexuality. It was the confidence. The fact that a young, black, openly gay man could be this sexy, this talented, and this unfazed by your opinions. People didn't know how to react, so they called him inappropriate, vulgar, too far. But the truth is, they weren't mad because he went too far. They were mad because he went exactly where he wanted and didn't ask for permission. And while the internet thirsted after his every look, it also tried to tame him, to shame him, to tell him what a gay artist should be. But Lil Nas X refused to shrink. He danced harder, posted thirstier, trolled louder. He turned every backlash into a punchline, every scandal into a serve, and somehow made each controversy hot. Lil Nas X made the world thirsty, but he also made it confront itself, what we find sexy, what we fear, and how often those two things are the same. Drop a 3 if Lil Nas X ever made you question your moral compass and still press replay anyway. Be honest, we're in this together. Cody Fern, the red carpet vision, who made androgyny feel dangerous again. Cody Fern doesn't walk into a room. He glides like a ghost dressed by Givenchy. With porcelain skin, haunting cheekbones, and eyes that look like they've seen your secrets, he's not just beautiful, he's disruptive. Because Cody doesn't present as handsome, he presents as a concept. And concepts don't need to explain themselves. Best known for his roles in American Horror Story and House of Cards, Cody made his name playing characters who were always just a little too composed, too knowing, too something. And that's exactly how he is in real life, too. Every photo of him feels like a painting. Every red carpet appearance, a ritual. Whether it's a full-length sheer blouse with flared pants or a leather harness over a couture suit, Cody never looks like he's trying to be hot. But you still find yourself staring. And that's what makes people uncomfortable. Because Cody doesn't serve thirst in a traditional way. He doesn't flex. He doesn't flirt. He doesn't smile wide and beg for attention. Instead, he exists like a walking aesthetic contradiction. Masculine jaw, femme flow, stoic presence, and eyes that read, "I will not tell you my pronouns, but you'll still want to guess." And it drives people wild. Fashion blogs praise him as fearless. Queer fans worship him for breaking binaries without saying a word. But mainstream media, half of them don't know what to do with him. He's not palatable gay. He's not camp. He's high fashion, ambiguous, and way too self-aware. The discomfort comes from the tension. You're not sure if he's seducing you or judging you. You want to label him, but can't. You want to ask, is he? But realize, maybe that's none of your business. And Cody never answers. He lets you squirm. He's not loud about queerness. He doesn't have to be. His entire presence is queer art. When he wore that blood-red lace blouse to the AHS premiere, it wasn't a statement. It was a spell, and we're all still under it. It's not just what he wears, it's how he wears it. Back straight, lips parted, like he knows exactly how much space he takes up and how little he cares what you think. That's why Cody Fern makes the internet thirsty and uncomfortable, because he refuses to be a type. He's not hot guy who happens to be gay. He's not fashion twink or femme icon. He's Cody, untouchable, unreadable, unapologetic. He doesn't explain his queerness. He embodies it, quietly, beautifully. And if you can't figure out why you're still thinking about him 3 hours after a Getty image, that's on you. Drop a 4 if Cody Fern ever made you feel things you didn't have the vocabulary for. Yet. Keiynan Lonsdale, the glitter prince who dared to be too free. Keiynan Lonsdale doesn't wear fashion, he makes it blush. He steps onto red carpets in sheer fabrics, metallic skirts, and eyeliner sharper than industry norms. He sings about love with no pronouns. He dances like gender was a rumor someone made up and he never believed. And that, for a lot of people, is both irresistible and terrifying. Before the glam, Keiynan was known as the soft-spoken heartthrob from The Flash and Love, Simon, a character many queer teens saw as the safe kind of gay. Sweet, closeted, polite. But as Keiynan grew into himself, the world quickly realized he wasn't here to be anyone's digestible role model. He was here to be dangerously real. When he came out, it wasn't with a press release. It was with poetry, painted nails, and a refusal to define himself. He declared, "I like girls and I like guys," but also added, "I like freedom." And he's lived that statement ever since. Keynan's Instagram is a visual feast. Bare skin, crystal body chains, wings, silk, sweat. One moment he's wearing stilettos in a field. The next he's shirtless in a mirror, glowing like a demigod. The lighting? Always sensual. The gaze? Always knowing. And the comments? Always divided. Because while queer fans saw liberation, others saw something they couldn't place. Is this too much? What is he trying to be? Why doesn't he just pick a side? Keiynan doesn't fit in their files. Too femme to be neutral, too masculine to dismiss, too sexy to ignore, too free to be comfortable. And that's exactly the point. Keiynan doesn't exist to ease your understanding of queerness. He exists to expand it, to remind you that fluidity isn't a performance, it's a practice. And if that makes people squirm, he smiles harder. His music matches his vibe. Dreamy, unapologetically queer, filled with lyrics that sound like love spells. His stage presence isn't about dominating, it's about inviting. There's something in his movement, his eyes, his energy that says, "You're safe to feel things here, even the weird ones." But here's what really makes Keiynan one of the most captivating forces online. He doesn't just make people thirsty, he makes them curious. Curious about gender, about beauty, about why we're attracted to what we're told is wrong. He walks into a space and doesn't change for it. The space adjusts to him, and in that power, in that unapologetic shimmer, is a reminder. Being queer isn't just about identity, it's about permission, and Keiynan gives you that by refusing to ask for it himself. Drop a 5 if Keiynan ever made you rethink your definition of sexy, or at least your closet. Being hot is easy. Being hot on your own terms? That's art. These 5 queer men didn't just make people thirsty, they made them think. They didn't ask for approval, they asked for space. And in that space, they danced, shimmered, flirted, and refused to shrink. They reminded us that queer beauty doesn't have to be polite. It can be loud, software genderless, defiant, and yes, deeply, deeply sexy. Which of these icons made your jaw drop, your heart flutter, your norms shift? Drop a number from 1 to 5 in the comments and tell us who made you feel something you didn't expect. This is Rainbow Spotlight, and we'll be back, bolder, freer, thirstier than ever.